Okay, what's up, everyone? Hi, I'm Maggie Houts, aka DJ Maggie. Welcome to all of you who are here and all of you tuning in later. This is my first time doing this, so it might be a little rough around the edges. I've been an IT professional for over 20 years, and I've been a downtempo DJ for 15 years, as well as a nature photographer and digital artist. So I spent a lot of my time in front of my computer. I'm also a resident DJ for Behind the Sky, Blue Tex record label. You can find all of my creative links on my Linktree link, which is here on the screen. So here we are. Hi, everyone. I have the chat running on the screen so I can keep track of what everybody's saying. And that way, if you have any questions while I'm sharing all this info, we can pause and take some questions. So hopefully that will help for everybody. This is the first of what I hope will be a series of tutorial streams. I would love to expand and get into other deeper levels of things, helping other people fine-tune their workflows, because that's pretty much what I do for a living in general. And I'd like to extend that out to the music community and then maybe beyond that. So we'll see. After the stream, the replay will be available on the Twitch channel here for 60 days. And then I'll also be archiving it on my YouTube channel. Again, all of those links you can find here on my Twitch profile or in my Linktree. Finally, if you enjoy downtempo electronica and you're just tuning in, I do have 2 streams a week that I do here on Twitch, Sundays and Tuesdays. You can find all the info here. Go ahead and follow me here if you want to be notified. And if you head over to my YouTube channel, please subscribe, and I'll be posting more videos over there. Okay, so that's the beginning intro bit. Does anyone have any questions before we jump in? I will be sharing concepts that are cross-platform, hopefully here, although I am a PC user and an Android phone user. So you'll be seeing things couched in the Windows environment. But the concepts here, I think, are pretty universal, so I'm hoping that this will apply to just about everybody. Okay, so I'm going to jump into, let's see, we're going to go to my main area here. So what we're going to get started with today is talking about the workflow that I have, going from the moment I buy music and it lands on my hard drive to when I'm ready to send the files over to Tractor, where I use those for DJing. So to start here, I've got my downloads folder where I grabbed a few tracks the other night to get ready for today's stream. So I'm going to go ahead and unzip one of the things here that I just did, that I just purchased, just to give you guys an idea of where it starts. Now, you know, we can buy things from Bandcamp. We may get things via email, promos, wherever the files come from. If you're buying files to not to stream like Spotify, but actually to purchase, then obviously you'll start here. So one of the first important things is when I download files, they go into a downloads audio folder that I have created for this particular purpose. I have a music library which is in a separate location on my hard drive. And I do that so that no music leaves my downloads folder until I have properly processed it. So the files may come in from downloads from emails, flash drives, ripped from CDs. Anytime I'm bringing new music in, it will not leave this download folder until I process it. And so it's kind of my downloads area is kind of like an inbox, like an email inbox, that I'm always aiming for it to be 0, but it's oftentimes enormous, depending on whether it's a Bandcamp Friday and I swipe and grab a whole bunch of stuff, or if if I have time in between and I can really knock a bunch out. Cool. And I'm going to remember to pause and look at the chat and say hi to everyone else who's just arrived. Hi, Chando Music. Hi, Ocean Dweller. Welcome. I don't recognize your name. Nautic Official. Hey, how's it going? Um, and thanks for following those who are joining in. I will get better at this part of the comfort level of talking on camera as we proceed. So just bear with me, I'm a little nervous. Um, okay, yeah, so in terms of the way I carve out my time for music processing, I always have a chunk of time where I'm doing nothing but just processing the stuff in my downloads folder. I really create that as a completely separate task from the rest of what I do to my music, because it is so important to me that I trust that once a track is in its permanent location on my computer, that means that I've done everything to it that I need to. And what processing involves for me, it's a several step process that we'll get into when I get over to my Media Monkey Music Library Manager, which, by the way, if you are not on PC or you're using something else, it is not essential to use Media Monkey for this. Everything I use in there is pretty much stuff that you can do in just about any music library manager. But as long as your manager has the ability to read ID3 tags, which are the metadata tags that store all of the additional information for every audio file, including things like the artist name, the title, genre maybe, the album it comes from, so forth and so on. As long as your media player is capable of reading ID3 tags, and most are, and also allows you to create playlists, then you can pretty much follow along with everything that I'm doing here. Okay, so this is kind of a bit more of an esoteric tip, but when I'm processing music, there's a certain part of my brain that's getting used that doesn't really do so well if I'm trying to read a whole bunch of stuff at the same time. I really try to create an environment where I'm focusing my attention on processing the music, listening for the sake of kind of reviewing it and assessing where it's going to go and how it belongs in my library. So for me personally, I prefer to do things like either have an audio visualization going on my media player, like, you know, the visuals that you guys might see in my streams, milk drop, electric sheep, you know, whatever it is that you have, and then there are a lot of free ones out there. It's important to go ahead and give your eyes something to do, but I find personally that I would prefer not to actually be reading. So I don't do a whole lot of social media. I don't do reading news. I don't try to send emails. I might chat with a friend or two, but most of the time I'm really just trying to focus my efforts on the music that I'm putting into it. And so it really becomes a practice like that. Any questions so far? I guess I should stop and check on this. Good to see everybody in there. Thank you all so much for coming. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so talking a little bit further about my particular. Oh wait, quick one. Okay, Chando Music, you've got a quick question. What's that? Let's see what he has to say. Typing fast. We all know that we're going to have typos if we're trying to type fast, but go for it. Oh, yes. Okay, thank you for that. Yes, of course. So Chandy Music was asking, do we ever use higher quality files? Speaking to ID3 tags, yes. The music in my library that I will play out, I will strive to have everything be lossless, which means WAV, FLAC. There's the ALAC, I believe it's called, on the Apple system, AIF on the Apple system. Any one of these that is a lossless format, you're going to get far better sound quality than you will from a lossy format, which is like MP3 and so forth. My particular music library manager program, Media Monkey, is able to assign ID3 tags to lossless files, not just to MP3s. That's a good question that I'm not entirely sure that everyone can do that, but I'm pretty sure that it's because it's a universal platform, the ID3 tags, that I believe you can assign it to other files. So yes, that's really important, especially for streaming. Here's the thing. I know some of you may just be real music enthusiasts and you're not actually performing, DJing, doing anything with the music like that. And you know, MP3s obviously save a lot more space for a lot of people. But if you are mixing, especially if you're doing it on live streaming these days, it's really, really important to try to stick to lossless files as much as possible. Because when you are streaming, your stream audio is already being compressed. So if you're using files that are compressed and then you go and you stream, it double compresses and can actually make it sound pretty ratty. So that is an important distinction. FLAC files are about half the size of WAV files. You know, I've converted a lot of my files to FLAC because my DJ software Tractor will read FLAC files. And I know that not all of them do. So unfortunately, that may be a limitation of your own system if you're using something else. But I do use FLAC and WAV whenever possible. I have a bunch of MP3s in my library because I've had files that I've collected for the last 20 years before I started DJing. But by and large, I try to replace those with lossless copies if I can before I'll actually play it out. Oh, look, it's Osiris Indria, and he's hosting with a party of 9. Awesome. Thank you so much, Osiris. Glad to have you with us here. Okay, great. So let's move forward. Oh, yeah. Okay, so in speaking about my particular media library management program, Media Monkey, it's been around for a really long time. I am a huge, huge fan of it. I have been for years. I've been using it since 2005. It is right now in version 4. It has a version 5, which is in beta, which will be released, I believe, sometime this year. They've been working on it for a number of years, and the new version they've built from the ground up. It's like 70 to 80% of the code is completely new and original to take advantage of so many of the technologies that have come out since the version 4 was out. And then eventually, supposedly, after the version comes out for Windows, they're going to be working on porting it to Mac and Linux. For you tech heads out there, the former engine that ran Media Monkey, that runs version 4 that I use, is a SQL database. But I understand that they're moving to Delphi. I don't know my programming languages all that well, but they're going to be doing that. So my understanding is that there is light at the end of the tunnel for those who will see how extensible it is when I get in there and that want to use it and are on a different platform. Howdy to Eastern Sun and Portal Frequency and Drew. Hi, good to have you guys all here. Thank you so much. And pardon the mess for my construction here as I'm figuring this all out. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and switch over to my media manager now. We've gone ahead and we have all of the files that we're ready to process. So I'm going to go here into my media manager. And let's see here. I'm going to go ahead and check. Okay, so here I have just a few tracks that I purchased the other night to show you guys how to do stuff. One of these tracks is replacing a lower quality copy that I have, and then the others are all just new stuff that I found. But you know what, the way that Media Monkey works is it's got everything in one folder here if I want. If I had saved these into folders, we might see additional folders over here on the side. But essentially, it just drops them all into one. And the way that my brain works, I like to sort my entire download file alphabetically by track title so that I'm not listening to any one artist in a row too many times. For the purpose of the analysis of where files live in my library and what playlists they'll go into and that sort of thing, I just find my brain works better if I can change it up a little. So I go ahead and I do that. So I have these files here. I know the text is a little small. Hopefully you guys can see this. Does anybody have a problem with the text size? I can adjust the resolution if I need to. Everybody okay? Okay. Okay, so in terms of how I process the music, there's a few things that I always, text is too small to read. Okay, great. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and we're just going to adjust the resolution here of my screen, which should help. Hang on a second. Let's go down to, I will try this. And okay, so let's see if this will work. We'll go back to this. How's that? Is that a little better for you guys now that I've adjusted it to that? Let me know. Yeah, I see Dave DJ Device is saying that the screen resolution was made to the same size as the OBS res. I've gone ahead and changed it down to that. OBS may be downscaling poorly. Yes, that may be the case. I apologize. That's a kink that I'll work out for any future tutorials. And I have stretched, oh, I see, you want me to stretch this one. Yeah, okay, that's a good idea. Let me go ahead and do that. Sorry, 1 second here. Okay. There we go. Let me go ahead and get my taskbar gone so I can, there we go. Okay. Does that work a lot better for you guys? Awesome. Hey, Greylark, good to see you. Glad you came by. All right, awesome. And since that's the case, I'm going to go ahead and, yeah, okay, good. All right. We can't see the text on the screen, but for the chat, but I'm not sure. I think it's more important for you guys to see the screen. I'll just try to repeat what people are saying in the chat, and that way we'll have an idea of what's being asked. Okay, so moving forward. So what I was about to get into is the tasks that I do to process music when it comes in before it will leave this folder. It's fine with that, without the chat on screen. Okay, you guys good with me turning off the chat on the screen? I can go ahead and do that. That was just an idea I picked up from another streamer that I was watching. We'll get to the bottom of all this. Okay, so the tasks that I do. First thing I do is I want to check the tags of the file because they will often be mislabeled, especially the genre, but also sometimes they won't have all of the right information. And I'm not a nut about things like the track number and so forth, but certainly genre and the album, maybe the year it was released. And in the case of something like this, here's this track from Biosphere. This is one that I'm actually replacing with that I have an MP3 of already because I'd like to play this out. So I just bought this off Bandcamp, and this is a track that has I won't say unusual, but it has a forget the name of it, but the character over the O, which I have found in my experience, Traktor does not like those things. Pretty much any track that I put into Traktor that has any kind of accent or tilde or anything else seems to just, it throws up its hands and says, I can't figure this one out. So I go through and actually rename the files when I find them that way, just for the purpose of my DJing. I know that it's not correct and the artist may not like that, but we're gonna just go for it. So with this track here, this Biosphere track is a repeat of one that I already have. So in that case, I have an extension here in MediaMonkey that allows me, if I right-click it, to say Find More from Same. So I'm going to select Biosphere. So now we're going to get into all of the tracks that I have from Biosphere in my collection already. If I were to scroll over, you can see that the path of the file shows this is the one that's just downloaded, and then here's all the other ones on a separate drive that have already been processed before. With this is the MP3 that I have. I'm going to go ahead and right click it and open it so you can see the kind of stuff that I look at here. So we've got genres, which I'm forever revising genres. I don't know about you guys, but I'm always like, wait a second, okay, is that this or that? So there's some grab bag genres that I throw in there before I get to a place of going, aha, this is a new genre to me. Yeah, there was an acapella one. Yeah, I know. This is the whole thing in here. These are not all mine. Some of these are, quite a bit of them are, but a lot of these are ones that just came with MediaMonkey, and you can create any one that you want. So, you know, you can call it Wahoo if you want to. But you can see in here what I've done. I have comments down below here. This is a really, really important thing to me because when I'm DJing in Tractor, if I don't recognize the title of the track, which is fairly common when I start collecting a lot of this kind of music, especially when it's new, I have a set of keywords that I use here in the comment section, which then translates over and can be viewed in the browser over on Tractor. So I have certain keywords that I will label either or, like a track is usually either cerebral or emotional. It's one of the two. Head naughty for me means it's head naughty. It's not ready to dance, but it's definitely got some rhythm. And so these are just keywords that work for me. So in terms of how the system might work for yourself, you may need to come up with your own keywords, especially if you're not DJing down-tempo and ambient like I am, because most of my keywords are related to that. If you're a dance DJ, you may have a whole other set of words. But if you start developing a set of keywords that you can add in every comment, then you start to recognize what you're looking for when you're out there DJing and you're scrolling through your list of tracks. That's how it's worked for me. And this is now a Bible for me. I do this for every track that comes into my collection. And in fact, because I developed this system years after I was collecting music, I have a whole set of files in this library that I will need to go back and redo this with. So, there's always work to be done in a library for sure. But it's so, so useful. I cannot stress enough. This and playlists are the two main things that run my library. I'm going to repeat that again. The comment keywords and playlists are the two things that really keep this going and how I'm able to find my music so well. We'll get into playlists a little later. But so you can see that I don't fill out necessarily everything, but I have the title, I have the, okay, I'll pause for a second, Graylark, because I know you came in a little late. Right now there is not a version for Mac for MediaMonkey, but it is forthcoming. They have a version 5 that is currently in the last final stages of beta for Windows, and once that goes out, because it's been built from the ground up, they're going to work on porting it over to Mac. It's been a huge request that they've had for years. The community around MediaMonkey is really stellar. The guys that develop it, I've been on private IM sessions with them, they've been helping me to work things out. They're really awesome people. There's a huge community of extensions, etc. So I'm really hopeful that the port to Mac is going to happen soon, because I would love to share this stuff with more than just PC users. That being said, even though I'll reiterate this from before, even though I am in Windows doing this, the concepts of what I'm talking about can pretty much be applied in iTunes and just about any other media player manager that can read ID tags and allows you to create playlists. At least that's my feeling. So the comment section is very important. If you notice at the beginning, I have something here that not all of my tracks have. This is because at one point I bought Mixed in Key, and I had it process my entire library, and so the 9A is the key, and the Energy 3 was something that Mixed in Key put in. Unfortunately, I misstepped and I clicked one thing wrong, and it overwrote all of my cue points in my entire library. Oh, it was so painful. I'm still working on fixing all of that, so I haven't applied it yet again to everything else that's come in since then. But it is a helpful thing if you like it. Mixed in Key is a great product and it has a lot of helpful things, but be very, very careful about the checkbox about overwriting cue points if you ever use it. I learned that the hard way. I see that Device is saying he's doing all of his tagging in iTunes by overloading unused fields. Maybe I can do a similar overview of how I do that with Apple scripts and keyboard shortcuts for Mac users at some point. That sounds like a really excellent idea, DJ Device. For all of you who may not know, DJ Device Dave is a super smarty pants, really awesome dude. He's been a friend for years, but he is a very, very smart cookie and knows his stuff. So if he offers to do that, jump on it. It would be a very good thing to do. Okay, and I see Drew has said he's interested in learning more about my use of cue points. Definitely, I'm going to be doing later sessions where I'll get into the inner workings of both Media Monkey and perhaps on a separate level Tractor. So yeah, we'll definitely do that. I probably do it completely wrong according to other people, the way I use cue points, but I think it's a subjective system, and yeah, I'd be happy to share that at another point. Okay, question from Chando Music. After using both Mixed in Key and Media Monkey, why do you prefer Media Monkey? Um, so Media Monkey has a lot of extendability. It's one of the things that I absolutely love about it. Number one, it can take any extension that was developed for Winamp, which has been around for a long time as well, and actually has been revived. And it's got this huge community of people who make scripts for it, people who make extensions for it to do all sorts of things. I will get into a little bit of showing you that during this session, just in the course of showing you my workflow. But in the interest of trying to keep the concepts a little more universal for this tutorial, I'll probably do a separate tutorial where I'll really dig in deep to how I use the extensions of Media Monkey. But that, coupled with how supportive the community has been over the years, I just really love it. And I love to support it and promote it. So Drew's talking about M3 Tag as a free app that's available on Mac that can perform several of the same functions that Maggie has shown so far. Yes, that's very true. And in fact, I know a few PC users who, even if they're using Media Monkey, they may prefer some of the feature set in MP3 Tag or a program like it for Windows. So by all means, there are many different apps out there to do it, but the point is to do it, to get yourself into a strict system where you know that you're going to assign the keywords and all of the data that you need to have before you'll DJ, or when you're just looking for music in your library, and really just make that a practice. Okay, so going back to this this example here. So what I've done is I've called up the old track that I'm going to be replacing with. So I'm going to cancel out of here and go show you what I'm going to do. This is now one of the really cool extensions that I found for Media Monkey, where I can right-click the old one, which had the, oh, by the way, had not only the comments, but over here shows you which of my playlists this track belongs to, which we'll get into later. So now I'm going to right-click this file and say copy metadata, and then come to the other one, right-click, and paste metadata. I have this thing called Mag Default. That's one that I created that basically will take all of the playlist membership, the keywords, the last played count, the date it was acquired, all of that stuff, and paste it in and delete the old file all at once. So I just get rid of it and replace it right away. So you'll see when I click on this that now the new file no longer has the extra character over the O. And if I were to open this, you'll see all of the comments are here. The playlist membership is here. So that has just happened. And if I do Control S, that means that I'm writing the key, the metadata to the file, which is an important feature to do before sending stuff over to another program like Tractor. You need to make sure all the work that you do is going to be visible outside of the Media Monkey interface. So the next step on this track, which if I go back, I'm going to show you, we're here in the downloads area. It's still listed here because it hasn't been moved yet. We just got rid of the old version and brought over all the metadata. Now here I can right click and say auto organize files, which I've set up a template here that will go this one. This is my template. That's my D drive is my audio music drive, and I have a folder called music, and then inside of there I store all my music by artist name. Each folder is an artist name, and then inside of there just artist and title. I'm doing away with albums myself. That's a matter of subjectivity whether you want to do that or not, but I don't think in terms of albums when I'm processing music for DJing. So now that I have the correct template set up, I go ahead and click OK. And if I were to refresh the folder, the file is now gone. Okay, Chanda Music says, for that 9A comment from Mixed in Key for new files, do you find the key signature of each song yourself, or is that something Media Monkey does like Mixed in Key? Well, there are going to be times when mixed in key is going to erroneously decide what the key is. I definitely have come across those. But by and large, I have found in my experience with the music that I play, it's been pretty accurate to the point where I would rather allow mixed in key to assign all of that so that it's in the comment section. But when I take it into Tractor, Tractor will do its own analysis of the key. That you can do. It's a choice you do when you're checking consistency of the files and then analyzing the files. Again, another tutorial will get into that. But if you have Tractor do it, it can also make mistakes. So for sure, there have been times where I'm on the fly DJing and I pull up something that says it should be in key to mix with something else, and oh no, that doesn't sound right. So, always got to use your ear at a certain point. But I don't use any kind of key assigning function within MediaMonkey itself. I don't even know if it has one, to be honest, because it's just never been relevant. I can always use the one ultimately in Tractor. Yeah, so Drew says most key detection software is usually about 85% accurate. That's about right. That's enough of a margin of majority for me that I am going to go ahead and just allow the automation to happen and then just work on the fly for the ones that don't sound there. I'm always going to audition a track in my headphones when I'm mixing anyways, so I'll know before I actually crossfade over to it whether it actually has the right key or not. Okay, so we're here with a few more tracks. Let's see. Gotta trust your ears still. Some of the best tools on the market. Take care of them too. Absolutely. Yes, for sure. I no longer listen to anything really loud. I stopped years ago. And I'm really thankful already just because of DJing. Because I tend to audition in this ear, if I have the headphones off like this. I can tell that I'm already losing a bit of hearing in my left ear. It's just a little bit, and I haven't tested it, but it's enough where I'm like, ooh, yeah, let's not put anything more loud in there. So I'm really trying to be careful with that. I've met quite a few DJs, and many of you probably have as well, who have, if not completely, then pretty close to completely lost hearing in at least one of their ears. It's usually evident when you're coming up to the DJ booth and you hear how loud they have the booth monitors. Oh my goodness. It's definitely a challenge. Okay, so the second, I'm going to jump out of here because I'm not actually going to be playing these tracks to process them while we're on the screen. I'm trying to do this tutorial without actually playing any music just to make the Twitch people happy. So I won't do that, but just to give you that idea of what happens in here, I'd like to jump to playlists and start talking about those, but I want to check first and see if anybody has any questions with what I've said so far. Let's see. I'll take a sip while you guys are thinking about that. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and move on to playlists. Now, playlists are truly the lifeblood of my collection. Chando Music says, do I manually enter the key of each track? No, as I mentioned, when I take tracks into Tractor, when I analyze them, I select for it to analyze the key. And that has worked pretty well for me. So it assigns it automatically, and then I will adjust it on the fly if I need to. DJ T-Vice says, so with the file you already had, you had already done the mixed in key part. Would that be an automated step in MediaMonkey? Well, actually, because I had such a scary experience with that checkbox that I marked, I have actually not worked with mixed in key in a few years because of that issue. So actually, I don't really have it as part of my regular workflow. I know that it is a pretty prevalent thing for a lot of people, though, which is why I mentioned it. I do think I will dabble with it again and just be really careful, probably make a backup of my database, etc. before I do that. But for now, I don't have that. The only way that I get the key assignment into my tracks is when I assign them through Tractor, and that works for me. I'm not needing necessarily to see the key when I have things in MediaMonkey and I'm working on adding things to playlists or just playing the music. So it really is more relevant for me when I'm in Tractor. Okay, let's see here. Okay, so yes, yeah, we're all confirming about, yeah, the Tractor does write some stuff to the tags for sure. I've noticed when I do the BPM analysis over in Tractor and then bring them back over here in Media Monkey, they usually have the key already in place, so it works pretty well. Okay, Sam Wood says, do you store your library on external drive or use the same laptop? Okay, that's a really good thing. I actually prefer to have all of my music on internal drives, so I purchased my laptop specifically so that it would have the right kind of capacity for that. I have a Dell laptop. It's a precision workstation that I lease because I need it for all manner of things. It's kind of their flagship. But one of the things that I like about this precision laptop is that it has room for 3 different solid state drives. So I've just splurged and I have about 5 gigs, or 5 terabytes rather, of hard drive space, all total, spread over the surface of 3 drives on my system because that's all I can afford at the moment. But my audio drive, actually I will go and open that up here and you can see if I go to here. So here's my main drive, which has roughly about half available. I've got my audio drive, which is about half available, and then my visual, which is where all my photography and digital art and stuff is. On the audio drive, I don't have much more than my music library. This is the main library that you see that has everything in it. There, and then over here I have like my DJ Maggie stuff is all in here. Other people's mixes that I've downloaded are here. And then I have samples if I want to get into using those during a set. I haven't really played around with this as much as I thought I would, but it's here if I ever want to. And some of these are left over from when I used to DJ in Ableton before I switched to Tractor. So there's that. But essentially, I don't put anything on this audio drive except stuff related to music, and so that therefore it's kept it nice and clean in terms of how much space I have. But the basic idea is I've seen so many friends who have started playing with an external drive and something happens. The drive gets jostled, the cable gets mangled, they forgot to pack it, anything like that, and I would rather avoid that. So I put everything on my internal drive and then I back it up to the wazoo. I back it up 3 different ways, and we'll get into that in a little bit. Let's see here. DJ Devices, do you ever let anything alter your sound files besides adding, changing ID tags? Do you normalize anything? I do not. Actually, I've thought about that before, but it just feels to me like I want to trust the quality for the most part, unless it sounds really horrible to the ear, that the mastering was intended. So I don't normalize, and so what that ends up meaning for me is that I do have to ride my gain a little more when I'm DJing. Sometimes there'll be files that are definitely quieter than others. But it may be slightly ignorance on my part because I haven't actually delved into using any kind of normalization. It just feels like something that might be fraught with error, and if I don't know enough about it, then I'd rather not touch it. Let's see, Portal Frequency. I'm so new to DJ learning, never DJ'd before, super organized. I've tried to, after 15 years, I feel like it's finally in a good, nice workflow, but certainly didn't start out that way. Thanks for the cheer, Greylark. I appreciate that very much. Sherpa Slim says it can take the dynamics out of your tracks. Yeah, exactly. I would rather not do that. I'm going to rely on my ear when I'm in the moment, and hopefully I'm playing on a decent sound system so that I can really tell what's going on with the music. Okay, why did I switch over to Tractor from Ableton? That's a really good question. I loved and worked in Ableton for years, but being a closing DJ, I'm a down-tempo DJ, and so when I would play out, a lot of times I was booked as the closing DJ, and one of the things that happens with closing DJs is that you very often have to be ready to play for quite a bit of more time after the allotted time that you have. The longest set I've ever played was 7.5 hours, but I've regularly played a lot of 3 and 4 hour sets that were initially set up as a 2-hour set, but people just didn't want to stop. Ableton was not affording me the ability to be as spontaneous as I wanted with that. essentially, what would happen with Ableton is I would create a studio mix and then just go play it live for the first time, and that was it. But it was all programmed ahead of time. It didn't give me a lot of chance to improvise. Shout out to Soniform. I'm glad that he's here. He's been a comrade in arms for a long time. We're part of a down-tempo crew called Floasis together. Glad to see you here. Let's see here. Macintosh is lacking metadata tools to integrate nicely with Tractor. So yeah, I'm glad you guys are chatting amongst yourselves in terms of resources on the Mac side, because definitely I don't know the particulars of that. I just know the general universal concepts that I like to use. So just to finish up from Portal Frequency's question about switching over from Ableton to Tractor, it's all about the improvisation and the way the browser works in Tractor. It just works for flow. So I can play as long as I want, and I don't have any problem as long as I have my playlists in place, and that's what we're going to get to next. Okay, so playlists. Let's get into this here. You can see over on the side, I'm going to go ahead and move this over so you see it without my, I don't need that here. Let's close that one out. There we go. Okay, so you can see all of my playlists here. I'm a nut about playlists. What I do is I very often will make playlists according to a mood, an activity, might be a crowd if I'm playing for a particular crowd with any regularity. Some of them are genre based, but the whole heart of how I find music when I'm on the fly and playing is to put these into playlists. So the ones that you see at the top here are more sort of administrative in nature. I have my upcoming ones, so any particular sets that I have going on, I'll throw up here. Like for example, this is the playlist for the set that I just completed last night for Holotropic Happy Hour, Blue Tech's weekly show, which I'm playing on next week. So there's all the stuff that I knew that when the stuff came in that I wanted to play this time, so I set it up over here. And then I have a couple of grab bag ones, which again, these will be changed to 2021 soon. But just basically things that I would imagine wanting to play at a desert gathering, since that's where my origins came from before I started live streaming, because I was playing a lot of outdoor desert gatherings. The kind of music that you'd play in the desert is definitely different than in a club or even at home. So I tend to group all of my stuff here together that I think I might want to play out in a desert gathering that's relatively new to me. This was one I just created for just the most energetic tracks that I was coming up against in case I wanted to do a kind of dance party. I also use the 2020 Energize on random when I need to do household chores. It's really great for motivating. But if we scroll down below the admin stuff, we're going to get into these ones here. So we have, I have crowd playlists. So when I've played for Moon Tribe, when I've played for Tropical, which is a house music community. So there's a subset of my music that I know they really, really like. So I'll put that in there. I've been playing for Inquiry Collective lately, a really awesome group of young artists that are really moving and shaking and doing great things. And then I have the crowd for Holotropic Happy Hour. We call it HHH. And that's becoming one of my largest playlists because I'm really focused on that right now. And then inside of these, I will, if I want to save a particular playlist that I put together for a set so that I kind of get an idea, there might be tracks in there that I didn't play that I may want to play at a related party later. This is where I get into being a total nut about this stuff. Then I'll tuck them into here. You'll see down here with Moon Tribe, you'll see a lot of playlists because over the years, these are a lot of the different parties that I've played for them. And just giving me an idea of tracks. One of the hardest things about having an enormous music library is the propensity for forgetting music that you have. It can be really, really easy to do. So I have chosen to do these crazy playlist kind of things so that I can go through them later and skip through them a bunch and say, oh my gosh, there's a track, I haven't heard that in a couple of years. can't believe I forgot about that. I love that track. I want to play it out next time. And then I'll go and I'll add it to one of the current playlists that I'm compiling. So that's where a lot of that comes from. Let's see, Portal Frequency says, do most DJs keep their playlists and files this organized? Probably not. This is part of why I knew that it was about time for me to maybe just share this and just see if anybody else would be interested in doing it to this level. It's a lot of work, but it pays off completely. So I don't think a lot of people do, but I think just the use of playlists in general, even if you don't get into the degree that I do it, is so, so important because you can group things together in so many different ways. But yes, DJ Device says, do you know many DJs who are also in IT? For sure, that's it. And honestly, some of the playlist organization that I have here, I rearranged things knowing that I was going to be showing this off to you guys. So it's sort of like the equivalent of me cleaning up my room before I have somebody over. So that's definitely that. Let's see, Greylark tends to organize by years and genres and folders. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, each person's going to have their different way of doing it, but part of why I use a program like Media Monkey is that I can create other views of my music that sorts by genre and year, so that playlists become a more loose, subjective kind of thing. It's really just about how a track is feeling to me in the moment. If I think, oh, I think the people at Holotropic Coffee Hour would really like that track, into that playlist it'll go. Whether I use it there or not, I don't know. But at least it gives me a chance when I'm feeling really inspired to think, oh, I know so-and-so would really dig this track if I put it on. So that's what a lot of that's for. Let's see here. Yes, I know my stuff is definitely organized. Let's see. Greylark says, I have a friend who has an insane way of organizing. She basically uses a Python script she created to find things and sorts it out using stars, etc. Yeah, that's really cool. Again, any way that you want to do it, as long as the idea is that you're using some form of a framework to keep your stuff organized, is really what it is. My favorite color is purple. Okay, Red Magnetic says, hot Sunday afternoon sounds like a fire Maggie set. Yeah, so I'm going to give you an idea about how I come up with these names. So here's Hot Sunday Afternoon, which is by far my largest one. I have almost 2,500 files in this playlist. And my whole playlist, and my whole library, just to give you an idea, let's see, let's go, the entire thing. I have 10,294 files in my playlist. So roughly a quarter of my music is in this Hot Sunday Afternoon playlist. And this is one of those vibe ones that I came up with, which essentially, because I was DJing a closing set at a lot of desert parties, I would imagine what's the kind of music that I would want to play when it's at the end of a weekend-long party. People are definitely tired. They definitely are almost ready to go home, but they're not quite ready to pack up yet. They don't maybe have the energy to dance completely, but they definitely have the energy to groove and maybe hand dance or head dance. So it's music that has a bit of groove, but it's not overt with that. And sometimes it's just funny, a playful kind of music, that sort of thing. Let's see here what we have. Okay, Dingus, 1986. Good luck with your studies. I know you're in the midst of all your finals and stuff. I hope it goes really well, and come back and let us know how you did. Glad to have you join us for part of the show here. So that's the idea behind something like that. Then I have the Creative Workflow playlist, which any of you who come to my Tuesday night stream Flow, this is the playlist that I play. So I created this when I started doing a lot of photography retouching and other types of visual art. The music in this playlist is very spacious, and it doesn't have many lyrics, if any at all. The beats are gentle, so everything is designed to not distract from what I'm doing. So, and this is 387 files. It's 42 hours long. So it's definitely going to outlast any particular creative session that I have. So you'll see that these are the different ones under mood or setting. And I use these, I pull from quite a lot. When I'm pulling together a set playlist for a particular gig that I have, oftentimes I'll start going into these here along with the crowd ones, again, depending on where I've gone with it. Because, I process music on how it makes me feel a lot more than anything else. And so, laying down in the chill out lounge, what's the music that I want to hear when I'm maybe not all the way sober and laying on my back in a beautiful chill out lounge looking at the cool stuff on the ceiling? I want maybe some things that are going to be some brain candy and maybe not energetic enough to make me feel like I should be getting up and moving around, but definitely enjoying the movement and maybe having some soundscapes and that sort of thing. So that's the idea behind ones like that. I have one called Super Mellow, Almost Make You Cry. So you get an idea of what that is. Some of it's ambient, and some of it is just super gentle, cuddly kind of music. But it's the super, super gentlest ones. I can put this playlist on right when I'm going to sleep, and if I have it at a low enough volume, I can sleep all night with it on. It's 21 hours, so it definitely goes long. Okay, let's see, channel music. Your lists are admin lists, and the the at are actual playlists. I use the special characters over here to get them to organize in a certain way. I'm going to go up to the top here and show you. Yeah, exactly. Helps with sorting and grouping. So these ones that have the upcoming and admin, there's actually nothing in this. There's nothing. It's just a placeholder to separate things. So if I want a playlist to show up at the top of the list, I have to put the stars first. So 5 stars right now is my very top of the list. And then under the admin section, they all have 4 stars. So again, it just sorts them towards the top. And then I have these other ones here that have more stuff tucked into them that I just don't need to see on the main level. So yeah, that's basically what that is. And it was a trial and error to figure out which characters were going to sort above others. But once I figured that out, it's just become very useful. Let's see, do you have a rubbish bin or purgatory for tracks you may have bought as part of a compilation but you wouldn't play? Or do you just not move them out of the downloads area? Everything gets moved out of the downloads area. For a long time, I was doing a star rating in my library here that if it was 5 stars, I would consider playing it out, and 4 stars would be just stuff that I want to add to a playlist of a certain kind to listen to on random. To be quite honest, though, I'm pretty ruthless, especially with the fact that I buy most of my music on Bandcamp and I can re-download things at any point if I feel like it. When I go through an entire compilation, I delete the ones that I'm not going to use. So, it's very rare that I will keep an entire album or compilation's worth of music. Sorry to the artists that are on those things, but I'm really trying to hone in on this library is 100% curated. There's no full albums here unless I like every track in it. So that's pretty much how that works. And then so below the mood or setting ones, I have these genre-based ones that I've started setting up here and there. I do play with this Yummy Dubby stuff one quite a bit. This is also a fun Sunday morning brunch kind of playlist if the weather's warm and so forth. But if there are, like this is a new one here, the live or mostly live instruments. So this has been an interesting one if I really just want to sort of get away from feeling like I'm all electronic all the time. I might put those in there. And then down below here, I have ones that are not even part of my down-tempo world. So we have, my vocal tracks that I've put in there. And the non-electronic, I have all my favorite classical and acoustic piano, etc. I've set this up down towards the bottom because clearly that's not a priority for me for the kind of work that I'm mostly doing in this library, which is all about preparing stuff and getting it ready for me to find when I'm DJing. Let's see, harder these days, but we all have different ears, which is what makes us all unique DJs. Absolutely, that's for sure. And yeah, you definitely have to ditch the tracks that you won't play or you'll accidentally play them. That's a good point. And again, why I rely 100% on my playlist when I'm in Tractor. I don't think I've ever once gone to the main track collection area unless I am looking for a particular track that I just can't remember what playlist it's in. But for the most part, when I'm actually in the mix and looking for stuff to play, I will pull in my playlists using a script that converts my MediaMonkey to an iTunes library. That's another extendability that I found for MediaMonkey. And so when I'm getting ready for a DJ set, I will literally just go through my entire list of playlists and add the ones in. I usually replace the ones that are already in Tractor because I'll have added new tracks to them, and then check consistency and analyze the things that are new. Let's see, Digital Tractor, you need to up your practice. Digital Tractor, I'm not sure I follow. Tractor is a program to play digital music, so are we having a joke, or do we need to clarify anything for portal frequency? Oh yes, a dubstep that I actually like. This one I'm probably going to retire soon because I used to really dislike dubstep a long time ago when it was kind of the home of Skrillex and others like that that are just really not my cup of tea. But lately there's been so much beautiful deep dubstep that I've found in the realms where I'm looking into the chill out stuff that a lot of drum and bass labels are releasing. So it's kind of a funny thing, but yeah, I definitely at one point was like, wow, it's amazing to me. There's only 30 files in here. I feel like it's a rare thing that I find dubstep that I like, but here it all is. But yeah, definitely there's a lot more new stuff. So some of these playlists don't have very much in them, like Dope Halftime, and some of this isn't even halftime. I've been learning my way around subgenres of the chill out side of drum and bass. But they're, so some of them will not have a lot of tracks in them, but because I label them as such, when I'm going into my Tractor with all the playlists, if I'm in the middle of a mix and I'm playing some track that sounds like it could be a really great crossover between IDM and trip hop, well then I might go to the chunky trip hop thing and sort by BPM or by key or something and see if I can find something that looks like it would be a great segue. So that's how these playlists work for me when I'm actually in the mix DJing, is to go through them, first put all the work in here and then go over there to Tractor and make use of them that way. Okay, so let's see what else. I'm going to look at my notes that I made, make sure I didn't forget anything that I wanted to talk about. Let's see here. Okay, so yeah, one of the other, here, okay, somebody says, Chanda Music says, have you ever used Rekordbox or Serato? Any reason you chose Tractor over everything else? I'm a digital girl, and when I was getting into Tractor with DJ Soniform, who is in the chat today, we decided to invest in a controller together. So I ended up with it. So I have an S5 controller. So it just is the way that I learned how to do it. I imagine I probably could have learned on using Rekordbox or Serato. I've had a couple of sound engineering friends who've told me that I can come by sometime and they'll show me how to work with Rekordbox. But the issue is that because I tend to want to mix in key, the working off of CD decks with Rekordbox and a USB drive just doesn't really work for me because I've not found the way to adjust the pitch easily with the controls that you have on the CD decks. I checked into that at one point to see if that was a thing, and I know that I probably should be able to do that because boy, it's a pain to lug this S5 around. And I've thought about maybe investing in a smaller controller for when I go out to play. Budget hasn't been there to have two controllers, and I'm not really playing out, so it hasn't really become a priority for me. But I really like the ability to map a control that allows me to adjust the pitch on the tracks. I don't adjust very much, only one semitone in each direction, or half semitone. But it is an important part of how I play, so it's just worked out best. Let's see, do I use CDJs? Yeah, I think I'd probably just explain that. Yes, and you said that I just answered it. Yeah, that's going to happen. Okay, so one of the other things that can be really useful with this, I'm going to go ahead and show you the now playing here and clear that out. So let's say, for example, here's my list from the set that I was just making. I'm going to go ahead and click play next, so it shows up over in this now playing area. and then I can go ahead and, you know, randomize the list or something like that, which is often what I do. For those of you who participate in my streams, when I'm playing off of a playlist, this is the system that I'm using. I'll take a playlist from over here, I'll add it in over here, I'll randomize it, and then furthermore, I keep track of the tracks that I play each week, and so I try not to repeat them within a month. So I'll go through one of the other playlists and take out the tracks in this now playing area that I played before in the last month. But being able to do it like this, what I can also do is I can send, this is again a Media Monkey specific thing, not all Media Monkey or media players are going to do this. I can send to an M3U playlist, which is basically a text file, and then doctor that up and then go post a track list really easily on my Discord or on my Facebook DJ page, things of that nature. Also, if I want to copy a bunch of music over to a particular folder, maybe to put on a flash drive, for those of you who use Rekordbox, I'm not sure how this would interact specifically with that, but the concept of trying to deliver your music onto a flash drive, this works really, really well for that. And so that's really something that I really enjoy. But for the most part, I am doing the M3U playlist. That's how I get my playlists posted up so quickly after I have done a set, is because I use that. So I think there's more about Media Monkey, but I had sort of thought that I would probably do that in another tutorial stream, since I'm trying to stick more to concepts that are more universal for this one to help out the folks that are on different platforms. Hi Chlorophyll, glad you could join us, but actually that's just about wrapped up for me in terms of what I wanted to share with you guys, but now I'd like to open it up for any questions that you guys may have about any part of this process. So let's see if anybody has any questions while I take a sip, because my voice is getting shot. This recording will be available, as I mentioned, both here on Twitch, and then I will edit it and get it up on my YouTube channel pretty soon. I'm learning how to do video titles and that sort of thing. But obviously, if you can come to the live Q&A like we did today, you get a chance to actually interact, which is what I really enjoy. If anyone is interested ever in doing more of a one-on-one consult about any of this stuff, I would be more than happy to work with you on that. That's what I do for a living, so I'm more than happy to do a screen share session and help you out or answer more questions. All right, well, that's it for this tutorial today. Please come join me tomorrow evening for my Sunday show, Omakase, Tuesday for Flow, and then next Wednesday and Thursday I will be on Blue Tech's Holotropic Happy Hour, which airs Wednesdays 5 to 7 p.m. And Pacific time, and Thursday morning 9 to 11 Pacific time. I've got a really fun set planned for this week, so I'm looking forward to playing that for you guys. Thank you all so much for coming. Definitely was an interesting experience to be doing all of this, and I hope that I will get better with it over time. But thanks so much for coming. Bye.